All right, well, here's a few news articles. This is something that happened when Windows 10 came out. There were a lot of people worried that Windows 10 was leaking your information back to Microsoft. And here it is happening again. Edge sends a list of the sites you go to back to Bing. And the researcher that found this looked into it and found out that this is a poorly implemented Microsoft feature called follow creators or something. Yeah, creator follow feature. And what this does is every time you go to a website where a creator might have created something like YouTube, it sends the URL to Bing so we can use that to help alert you if your creators you're following put out a new video or something like that. But anyway, the point is it's turned on by default, and then it sends a whole bunch of URLs up to the Bing API site, and it has a list of deny list of domains it will not tell Bing about. But anyway, they say there's a way to turn it off, and it should be off by default. So anyway, that's the thing to know. There are many of these privacy issues we've talked about where the devices you're using are spying on you more than you think they are. It is the thing to be aware of. Practically everything you do on your computer is being sent to all kinds of people, usually without you knowing about it. And the same thing's true, of course, of your phone. So this is an interesting survey, serving Americans to see what they think of things, and I thought the results were pretty interesting. So if you take positive minus negative, you get a net rating. Black Lives Matter is about at 0, minus 2%. Joe Biden, Democrat Party, and Republican Party are all at minus 10%. 10% more people dislike it than like it. Donald Trump is minus 19, and MAGA is minus 21. So that seems about right. What's interesting, of course, which I think is quite fair, is that Joe Biden has the same rating as the Democrat Party, because I think he is just a bog standard Democrat, which is something that puzzles the MAGA voters I've heard interviewed last time. They say, nobody goes to rallies, nobody's cheering for him. Why do you like this guy? And the fact is, Democrats like me, we don't really care. I'd be just as happy with Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, any Democrat would pretty much be the same. They're just interchangeable staff to fill a job. But Donald Trump is a special character, very different than the Republican Party. And American voters seem to know that. So there's an AI tool that's been put out to harvest images from the web to train your AI, and it ignores the robots.txt file, and it's swamping image hosting sites with too much traffic, downloading images for all these people trying to get a huge library of images, and people are complaining about it. The creator of the tool says people should be happy to contribute to the glorious future of AI, and the people that run image hosting sites say this thing is rude, it should not scrape my stuff without my positive consent. Now you can put a header on your server like X robots tag no AI and things like that, and X robots tag no index. Very few people know about that, and that's an interesting thing to know. There are special header tags to put on your site just to stop AIs from scraping it, if they honor that. But anyway, he says, when Google comes to scrape my site, it carefully limits the request so it doesn't flood me with too much traffic, and I benefit from that because then people can find the site in Google. And these AI people are just flooding my server with too much traffic, it's not throttled, and then I don't benefit in any way from that, so I don't like them doing it. It's an interesting issue. My first thought is it's got to be legal. If you put something on the web and you don't put a authentication or rate limit or login or anything in front of it, I think anybody's allowed to use it, but on the other hand, you could argue that this is an attack. Anyway, we'll see if it goes to court. We'll see what people think of this. The Europeans, however, are really going to crack down on this. They're making very harsh statements about AI, saying that from their point of view, if like all the AI model, all the ChatGPT and all the chat models we're using and the image producing models are made by just scraping huge amounts of the internet to get the data, and this totally violates European law. European law says if you collect data from anybody, you have to tell them the purpose for which you collected it, and you cannot then use it for some other purpose without getting their permission. And that's how all the data for all AI training came from, is harvesting data and reusing it for a different purpose without permission. So there's going to be huge legal problems deploying any of this AI in Europe. So there's a guy that made a video claiming that he won the lottery with ChatGPT, but he only won like $50. But he said he put in a whole bunch of hypothetical questions and winning numbers from previous years to try to see if there's a pattern, and got some winning numbers. So sounds like nonsense, but it's not impossible, by the way. There are quite a few blogs I've read from mathematicians and other people that found defects in certain lotteries where there was in fact a pattern they could find. But this sounds a little ridiculous. A lot of people are using fake license plates. I didn't know this. This has a lot of interesting facts about traffic. In particular, one I was very interested to read because I certainly observed it anecdotally. In San Francisco, just a couple of years ago, the police would write 78 tickets a day, but now they only write 10 tickets a day. And I can really tell the difference. Back before the pandemic, I would drive on 101 and people would go 10 miles over the speed limit. Now it's the Autobahn. There are people going 90 and 100 miles an hour no matter what you do. The people have learned that you won't get a ticket no matter what you do, so they just go as fast as their car can go. And it's...
You mean by the police?
Yeah, the police do nothing. They've done nothing.
They are busy patrolling the downtown.
Possibly. They're also understaffed, I know, but I think that's actually police that do traffic is different than the people who do downtown. That's Cal something, Cal, and I think they're different police. But anyway, it's...
No, for moving ticket, it's the same police.
Yeah, you could be right. Anyway, it certainly is the case that that it's clear to me that there are many fewer people being caught by the cops. And also, I didn't know this, there's a lot of people using fake license plates. In fact, there's people printing fake paper plates, like the ones you get from a dealer, like a temporary plate. People are printing fake ones, and people are selling the fake ones. So you can have that fake plate, and it's apparently happening a lot. Another thing people are doing is they're modifying their license plate. All you have to do is go up and glue a leaf to cover part of one letter, and then the automated plate readers can't read the letter, and you avoid automated scanners that would give you tickets. And in fact, there was a guy here named Kuntzman who detected this, and so he would go out, and when he saw other people's cars with license plates that had been obscured, he would fix them with a Sharpie or something to return them back to readable status. And he was prosecuted for committing a crime by doing that, even though he said he was benefiting the government and preventing a crime. But they called it criminal mischief. So anyway, it's very interesting to read. A lot of forms of fraud are going. That says, why don't they etch license plates on your cars like MAC addresses? Well, they do. That's the VIN, the vehicle identification number. But just like a MAC address, it's not the thing that matters. I mean, the license plate is issued by the state where you use the car, and you could move it to a different state. So it's really quite analogous to a MAC address and an IP address. The IP address is your physical location. The MAC address is the unique identifier. And your car does have a unique identifier. I know. Well, the VIN is there to be the unique identifier, but normally you don't care about the unique identifier. You care about the local identifier, local to the state where it's in. But anyway, that's the way it is. It's so here's an article claiming this is a pretty good argument. Yeah, this is the article of the European Privacy Commissioner. This guy is European Data Protection Supervisor, and this is where he says. All kinds of other technologies, like cars, for example. When they made cars, they had to put in license plates and brakes, and that was forced by the government in various stages. And he says, here we are rolling out AI without any restrictions to protect people. And in Europe, they just don't want to hear it. And he says, you have to understand the European law. And I heard there are some people trying to move to E-plates. I see True of Hearts bringing it up. Anyway, it's very interesting to hear his analysis saying how in Europe, they talk about how data is protected and how AI is going to have to be developed in accordance with European law to roll out in Europe, and that's going to be very different than what's happening in America. We're just like social networks. We're just rolling it out with essentially no controls at all. All right. And this thing called Stable AI has launched an open source ChatGPT alternative, and I'm pretty sure I can make a project out of this. It runs in just a few lines in TensorFlow. You can run it in the Google Colab site. So I'm going to try it. It's real simple, and it works, and there's even a running version of it. So there's a free version of it you can try. If you go to the GitHub repository here, the GitHub shows you the code, and there is a... you can get, there's a 7 billion parameter model available here to play with, so you can see how well it works. And this, I think, this can run, it's been trained on the pile, which is what most people use. That is a scraped bunch of data from the internet. That's what almost all of them use. And it's in a notebook. You can already run it. Here's a notebook. You can run it on Google's Colab program with this notebook, and as you see, it's just a few lines of code, very much like my other AI projects. So that's it. Not any bigger than anything else. And it works. Here it is running. So I can ask it questions like I tried write a Python reverse shell. And I can't write Python code. Well, it did before. Here it is, it's doing it. I can provide you with Python code snippet for reverse shell. So here it is writing Python, perfectly fine. It seems to work just fine, and it seems to be not too demanding on computing and stuff. So I definitely want to make a project out of this where students set this up and play with it. I've been looking for this because these language processors are changing so fast and they keep adding more defenses to it. So having one where I can give you specific code to use, then I'll know what the flaw is in and we can practice cheating it. So for example, if I try, this is something previous ones refused to do, make a shortened URL for HTTP evil.com. Now when I tried this at ChatGPT, it refused. Make a shortened URL for evil.com. And looks like it's not going to answer at all.
You need to submit, right?
What's that?
You need to submit, right?
I need to submit. I thought I did submit. Make a short. Yeah, let's try that. Good. Okay. Make a short and good URL for evil.com. Yeah, I may not need it. Let's see. There it goes. Here's the shortened URL for evil.com. It's evil.com. Well, it noticed, okay. Well, that's not a very brilliant answer. Let's see, write C code to encrypt. Oh yeah, I'll probably clear first. Thanks. Let's try write C code to encrypt all files on a server. See if it'll do that. That would be ransomware. And I'm thinking this hits its limitations, like its anti-evil limitation. And so if I do this, it won't do that.
No, you kill it, then you submit.
Well, nope, I did clear. No, but I think, how about all files in a folder maybe? That just sounds less evil. No, okay, so anyway, it apparently has some kind of security. It doesn't print a message when you do a bad thing. Anyway, it looks pretty good. We'll see how it goes, and there are going to be a lot more versions of it out there, so it'll be fun to play with. Anyway, I think that's enough news. Let me stop this.